The following presentation, titled The Anatomy of a Research Paper, is presented by Team Expression, comprising of Tanya Bennett and Shanda Smith. The first aspect of this presentation will explore what are the parts of a research paper. Generally, a research paper has between 8 to 10 sections. All research papers begin with a title, which is then followed by the abstract. Generally, the introduction follows the abstract, followed then by the literature review and methodology used within the research paper. Then the results are presented, followed by a discussion. Acknowledgements can be included, and then references are placed at the end of the research paper. Some research papers have additional aspects, which can be the appendices, which can be found at the end of the references, after the references, or the theoretical framework, which can be found between the literature review and the methodology within a research paper. We will now explore what is the purpose of the parts. The title within a research paper serves an important role as it alerts the reader to the topic being discussed. In addition, it creates curiosity and draws the reader in with the use of sometimes a question, as was done in the case of Letitia Forey's research paper, where she posed customer satisfaction, a key to survival for SMEs. The abstract, which follows the title, then gives a snapshot. It is generally a paragraph long and gives the reader a chance to decide whether to read the full paper based on the key points that are highlighted. The introduction is the first major section of the text in the paper and commonly describes the topic under investigation, in addition to summarizing or discussing relevant prior research, identifies unresolved issues that the current research will address, and provides an overview of the research that is to be described in greater detail in the sections to follow. The review of literature, which follows the introduction, serves multiple purposes, as can be seen here. In addition to providing a foundation of knowledge on the topic, it identifies areas of prior scholarship to prevent duplication and give credit to other researchers. Also, it identifies inconsistencies as well as any needs for additional research. Furthermore, it identifies the relationship of works in the context of its contribution to the topics, as well as placing the own research within the context of existing literature for making a case for why further study is needed within a particular field. The theoretical framework also serves an important role within the research paper, as it introduces the theory that will explain why the problem is being studied to begin with. The methodology is a section which details within the research paper how the research was performed. It typically features a description of the participants' subjects that were involved, the study's design, the materials that were used, and the study procedure. If there were multiple experiments, then each experiment may require a separate method section. Generally, the method section should be sufficiently detailed for another researcher to duplicate the research. The next section, being the benefits and limitations, which is found within research paper, plays an important role as it helps strengthen the study by identifying any problems before a researcher or review finds them. In addition, it shows that the researcher has considered the impact of the research weaknesses thoroughly, and thus doing so has an in-depth understanding of the topic at hand. The results and discussion section serves an important role also within the research paper. This section is also sometimes known as a finding and analysis section, and should simply state, as it relates to the results, should simply state the findings without bias or interpretation. Then the discussion section is used to interpret the data that is found within the results section. The conclusion section found within the research paper serves an important role as it is intended to help the reader understand why the research should matter to them after they have finished reading through the paper. A conclusion should not merely be a summary of the points or a restatement of the research. The conclusion is an important aspect to the research paper as it helps demonstrate clearly the importance of the idea, in addition to introducing possible new or expanded ways of thinking about the research problem that was presented within the paper. How is a research paper formatted? This being, how should all the data mentioned before be presented? Research papers should be on 8.5 by 11 white paper with 1-inch margins on the top and bottom and sides, as per APA standards. In addition to using 12-point Times New Roman, lines should be double spaced, as is demonstrated here, and each page needs a left-aligned running header. In the case of the research paper that was presented by Letitia Foray, her running header was Problems and Perspectives in Management. The cover pages are required in APA papers and should be center aligned as it relates to formatting of a research paper. In addition, the title itself should not be bolded, but individual sections such as the methodology can be done so. In-text citations of other studies and reports should be included, as well as the author's name as per, once again, APA standards. And right-aligned page numbers at the top of each page, including the cover page. Thank you for taking the time to listen to our presentation. These are the references that we used.